Good day and thank you for joining us on BTV Global News at 12. I am Lee Brakeman Johanna. Now the news in details. The return of all hostages taken during the October 7, 2023 attack remains a central element of the first phase of the ceasefire, which began last month, the report.
Most living hostages, 20 in total, were released under the agreement. Efforts have also focused on recovering the remains of deceased captives. On December 3, 2025, militants from Hamas handed over a body in Gaza to the International Committee of the Red Cross. The ICRC prepared the body for transfer to Israel. Israeli authorities received the remains and began forensic identification. On December 4, 2025, they identified the body as that of Sudiska Rentalak, a 42-year-old Thai agricultural worker abducted on October 7, 2023. According to Israeli officials, only one hostage body remains unreturned, that of Ran Giveli, an Israeli police officer. The transfer of remains and release of living hostages is part of a larger ceasefire and prisoner exchange agreement negotiated earlier this year. In addition to hostages, the accord involves reciprocal release of Palestinian detainees. Return of hostages remains is linked to humanitarian terms as part of the agreement. Border crossings, such as the Rafah crossing between Gaza and Egypt, may reopen to allow civilian movement and aid supplies in Gaza. Despite progress on the hostage exchange front, the broader situation remains fragile. The humanitarian crisis in Gaza continues and tensions between the parties remains high. Soher or Semeki reporting for BTV.
Federal health guidelines have long recommended that all medically stable newborns receive their first hepatitis B vaccine within 24 hours of birth, followed by additional dosage at about 1 month and 6 months. This birth dose policy, adopted since 1991, was designed to prevent early life infection, particularly from mothers who were not tested or tested negative for hepatitis B, the report.
The policy has been credited with dramatically reducing hepatitis B cases among children in the United States. However, the Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices, now under U.S. Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., is expected to discuss changes to this recommendation. The committee is considering whether the universal birth dose for newborns should remain or if the first dose could be delayed or limited to infants whose mothers test positive for hepatitis B. The discussion is scheduled for this week, December 4, 2025. Proponents of changing the recommendation argue that delaying the birth dose may allow parents more choice and could align vaccination with actual risk. Critics warn that removing or delaying the universal birth dose could expose infants to unnecessary risk, as hepatitis B can be transmitted prenatally or in early childhood, and infections in newborn carry a high risk of developing chronic hepatitis B, which can lead to liver disease later in life. Public health experts note that decades of evidence support maintaining the birth dose policy. Studies show that without immediate vaccination, infants are significantly more vulnerable to infection, and the current system provides a critical safety net, especially for cases where maternal infection is undetected. As of now, the official recommendation remains that all medical stable newborns receive the hepatitis B vaccine before hospital discharge. Any change by ACIP could mark a significant departure from decades of public health policy, potentially affecting infant health outcomes and public trust in vaccination programs. Zainab Mohammed reporting for BTV News.
Witnesses and aid workers report that Sudan's Rapid Support Forces (RSF) are detaining residents in Al-Fasher, North Darfur, and demanding ransoms from their families. Those unable to pay are reportedly beaten or killed. These actions are part of a broader campaign of violence that has displaced tens of thousands and caused a humanitarian crisis, the report.
RSF fighters and allied militants have reportedly detained men, women and children across Al-Fasher and nearby villages. Families are contacted sometimes via satellite internet or social media and demand to pay ransoms ranging from a few million to tens of millions of Sudanese pounds, approximately $1,400 US. In some cases, payments are negotiated down before being transferred digitally. Survivors describe RSF fighters using vehicles equipped with satellite terminals to contact families, making ransom demands appear systematic rather than ad hoc. Those unable to pay are reportedly executed or severely beaten. Witnesses describe people being shot at close range, beaten, or killed in front of others to enforce compliance. Detention conditions are harsh. Prisoners are held in hospitals, universities, and makeshift prisons with minimal access to water or food. One former detainee recounted drinking from a sewage pool. Hundreds reportedly died under these conditions. Some detainees report sexual violence. Women have been blindfolded, raped, and threatened with death by RSF soldiers. Survivors also report staged media appearances showing detainees receiving food and care, which they claim are propaganda efforts to disguise torture and abuse. Ethnic targeting is reported, with non-Arab sedentary communities often disproportionately affected. Thousands of people have been displaced, fleeing violence to border areas such as Chad, where aid is limited and many remain without shelter, food, or medical care. RSF have denied responsibilities, claiming rogue elements committed abuses and announced investigations into alleged incidents. Humanitarian and human rights groups, however, document patterns of organized detentions, systematic ransom demands, ethnic targeting, and killing consistent with war crimes. Evelyn Isabel reporting for Beetv News.
Peg Hegseth was confirmed in 2025 as U.S. Secretary of Defense after a narrow and controversial Senate vote. Many lawmakers during confirmation questioned his background, temperament, and whether he was fit for the office. The report.
Since taking office, Hegseth has publicly embraced a hard-line, aggressive approach towards narcotics trafficking, vowing to instill a warrior culture in the U.S. military. He reportedly urged military commanders not to be constrained by what he called stupid rules of engagement, advocating instead for maximum lethality and authority for warfighters. Under his leadership, the U.S. has carried out a series of maritime strikes targeting vessels suspected of smuggling drugs in the Caribbean and Latin American waters. On September 2, 2025, U.S. forces struck a vessel off the coast of Venezuela and Caribbean Sea that was suspected of narcotics trafficking. According to a detailed report by a major U.S. newspaper sources with direct knowledge, say Hegseth gave a spoken order to kill everybody aboard the vessel. The initial strike reportedly killed many aboard the vessel, but 2 individuals survived and were observed alive clinging to the wreckage of the boat via a live drone feed. After that, a second strike was ordered by the commander overseeing the mission, Frank M. Bradley, a senior U.S. Special Operations Admiral, to comply with the directive, killing the 2 survivors. According to available reporting, this strike was the first of many under the current campaign. By now, there have been 20-plus boat strikes with over 80 people reportedly killed. This sequence and initial strike, followed by a strike on survivors, have been described as a double tap, a tactic that has triggered enormous controversy and scrutiny. Hegseth has denied ordering the killing of survivors. He claims that during the strike, the vessel was engulfed in fire and smoke, that he did not personally see survivors, and invoked the fog of war to explain why he didn't object or intervene when the second strike was ordered.
Those drug boats is tied to a designated terrorist organization. We know who's on it, what they're doing, what they're carrying. All these white bales are not Christmas gifts from Santa. This is drugs running on 4-motor fast boats or submarines that we've also struck. No one's fishing on a submarine. And I have empowered them to make that call.
He defended the broader campaign, calling the strikes lethal, kinetic strikes aimed at destroying narco boats and eliminating narco terrorists, asserted to be affiliated with designated terrorist organizations. The White House and Pentagon, while acknowledging that a second strike was ordered, say the operation was lawful, done under authority, and in accordance with their interpretation of both U.S. and international law. Legal experts, including former military lawyers, have stated unequivocally that ordering or carrying out a second strike that kills survivors of a first strike is unlawful. They argue that under both peacetime law enforcement norms and laws of armed conflict, individuals who are incapacitated or shipwrecked must not be intentionally targeted. Doing so is a war crime or murder. By launching the second strike, assuming survivors were alive and visible, the U.S. military may have violated international humanitarian law. The reporting has ignited a bipartisan concern in Congress Leaders of both the Senate and House Armed Services Committee have launched oversight investigations demanding full disclosure of mission orders, drone feed footage, communication logs, and legal opinions justifying the strike. Some lawmakers, including Republicans who previously supported handset, have expressed alarm. Some call the strike unthinkable, potentially illegal, or unconscionable. The lack of transparency, including refusal to bring legal advisors to closed-door briefings, have deepened skepticism, with critical warning that the campaign's aggressive posture may erode norms and law of war standards. Temitope Oluwafemi reporting for BTV News.
Cartel violence in Microcan has escalated sharply, reshaping daily life across the state. Criminal groups including the Jalisco New Generation Cartel CGNG, Vigorous Cartel, United Cartel, remnants of the Ninth Templar Cartel, and smaller cells fight over territory, smuggling routes, and extortion rackets. The report.
Extortion is particularly targeted farmers and fruit producers, including avocado and lime growers, squeezing already fragile incomes and making agriculture increasingly unprofitable. The human cost is severe. A local lime growers leader who spoke out against cartel extortion was found killed in his car. Entire families have been displaced, fleeing rural areas as violence intensifies. Public services are disrupted, businesses close, and everyday life is paralyzed in many towns. In response to inadequate state and federal protection, many towns have established community police forces, local volunteers, often from indigenous communities, to defend their land, communities, and livelihoods. These forces, rooted in community trust and traditions of self-defense, face significant disadvantages. They are poorly armed, undertrained, and often outgunned by cartel forces. Recent incidents illustrate the risks. In Kohayana, 7 community police members were killed by cartel gunmen, while others were kidnapped and subjected to brutal treatment. In some areas, civilians, including farmers, have formed informal self-defense groups to resist cartel control, but these groups also face severe threats. The federal government has launched major security operations in Mikahonakan, deploying troops, National Guard unit, and civilians are set to dismantle criminal networks and arrest individuals involved in high-impact crimes. Despite these efforts, many residents remain skeptical as cartels continue to adapt through alliances, advanced weapons, and extortion schemes. For Mikohakan residents, especially in rural and indigenous areas, daily life now involves a choice between arming themselves or living under constant threat from cartel extortion and violence. Agriculture is under siege, local governance is weakened, and civic trust is eroded. Community police and self-defense groups provide some protection but operate under extreme risk. Even with government interventions, the shifting dynamics of cartel alliances makes danger persistent, leaving many communities living in fear or forced displacement. Soher or Semeke reporting for BTV News.
President Donald Trump has renewed his claim that revenue from tariffs could eventually grow large enough to replace federal income taxes, a statement he has repeated in recent public appearances. The report.
During a recent cabinet meeting, Trump said the United States is generating tariff revenue so great, so enormous, that at some point you won't even have income tax to pay, adding that the country could return to a model similar to late 19th and early 20th centuries when tariffs were a major source of federal revenue. Independent data and non-partisan analysis show a significant gap between what tariffs currently generate and what would be needed to replace individual income taxes. Recent U.S. Treasury figures indicate that individual income taxes brought in more than $2.6 trillion last fiscal year, over half of all federal revenue, while tariffs generated roughly were $195 billion, less than 4% of the total. Analysts say this gap is far too large to be closed under any realistic tariff system. Economics widely dismiss Trump's assertion as mathematically implausible. Analysts at the NYU Tax Law Center say replacing income taxes taxes entirely with tariff is not possible, while the Institute on Taxation and Economic Policy calls the idea nonsensical, noting that tariff revenue doesn't even come close to the scale required. Experts argue that matching income tax revenue would require extremely high tariffs, often estimated at 50 to 70% imposed on nearly all imported goods. Such rates would sharply reduce imports, drive up domestic prices, and likely provoke foreign retaliation, all of which would shrink tariff revenue rather than expand it. Fact-checking organization notes that historical comparisons are also misleading. While tariffs once accounted for a large share of federal revenue before the income tax was created in 1913, the federal government of that era was much smaller and funded far fewer programs. Today's federal spending demands far exceed what tariff could support, even under the most aggressive tariff scenarios. Recent modeling reinforces the challenges. Analysts estimate that even a universal tariff applied to all imports would fall trillions short of replacing federal income taxes. High tariffs would also function as a consumption tax, raising prices for American households and disproportionately burdening low and middle income consumers who spend the largest share of their income on goods. Economics warn that shifting the federal revenue base from income to tariff would highly regressive and widen inequality. Despite the criticism, Trump has continued to suggest that rising tariff revenue could clear the way for substantial reductions or even elimination of federal income taxes. Economics, however, maintain that current revenue patterns and projected economic impacts show no feasible path by which tariff alone could replace income taxes without triggering major economic disruption or requiring drastic cuts to federal spending. Temitope Oluwafemi reporting for Beetv News.
You're still watching Beetv Global News Updates. While we go on a short break, to stay with us.
Hooray! It's another time, another day, and another year to celebrate Edo State Second Lady, Her Excellency, Ambassador Mrs. Kasha Osaiti Idahosa. A hearty congratulations to a woman of valor, a delectable wife, and a home builder, Her Excellency, Ambassador Mrs. Kasha Osaiti Idahosa, wife of Edo State Deputy Governor, His Excellency, Right Honorable Dennis Idahosa. On this special day, I join millions of Edo women and committee of friends at home and in the diaspora to celebrate you, Your Excellency. You are an amazing woman, a virtuous woman, humble and kind. I celebrate a pillar of support and a beautiful soul. May God bless your day with more love than your heart can hold. May God fill you with His grace now and always. May the Almighty God guide you with more wisdom to support your husband, our amiable Deputy Governor of Edo State. And may you continue to dazzle like the moon every day. I wish you many more years of celebrations. Signed, Chief Ambassador Mrs. Temi Stella Ogbeta, woman leader and special aide to wife of the Deputy Governor of Edo State.
Papa, mama, na holiday. If you don't need to say, but that's why Edo is shining, Edo is shining. Edo is shining, oh yeah, keep Edo clean. Papa, mama, na your holiday. Edo is shining, oh yeah, keep Edo clean. Brother and sister, na your holiday. Na your holiday, oh. Papa, mama, na your holiday. Na your holiday, oh. Brother and sister, na your holiday, oh, time don't reach, oh. All other people, Beetv people, Edo State people. Time don't reach to keep your environment clean, oh. Operation Clean Your Environment. Operation Clean Your Business Places. You will be hotel owner, you will be market owner, you will they work out for street bus driver. Aha, that the thing waiting for your motto, not to remain for grand, oh. That the thing waiting for your domot, not to remain for merodo, is a gota, oh. Those one they cause yama yama, it they cause pollution to our environment, oh. Carry that dirty, put down for your waste bin. Motto day we go carry on for your doorstep, oh. Because you better can say cleanliness lead to godliness, oh. Now small yama yama they lead to sickness, oh. You will never can they drink pure water, so or can water. Not to real for grand, oh. If they grab you, now tell you they go. No time to waste time, oh. This one time don't come for us to join hand with the Orado local government by Honorable Gabriel Idusere, aka Gabros, and the Edo State government. His Excellency Senator Mondo Bawolo Akbako rescue to keep environment clean, because when you keep your environment clean. Papa, you go enjoy good air too. We bring you this message from Oredo Local Government Council.
Let's join hands together to keep Edo clean.
Welcome back, and now to business news. Analysts at Cardinal Stone have projected that Nigeria's GDP will rise to 4.22% in Q4 2025, up from 3.98% in Q3, following newly released data from the National Bureau of Statistics. The economy grew slightly faster than the 3.86% recorded in Q3 2024. Although it slowed compared to the 4.23% achieved in Q2 2025. The slowdown was linked to reduced crude oil production, which fell to 1.64 MB/d due to maintenance disruptions and delays in new upstream activities. The report.
Cardinal Stone said a recovery is likely in the final quarter of the year, supported by strong business activity and improved macroeconomic conditions. November's PMI reports showed broad expansion across sectors, signaling stronger output momentum heading into Q4. The firm expects full-year 2025 growth of 3.92%, driven by improved supply conditions and rising domestic demand. Other research firms delivered similar forecasts. Stanbic IBTC projected 4.0% GDP growth for 2025, citing stronger growth in manufacturing and services, as well as government reforms in infrastructure and energy. Meristem Securities estimated 4.08% GDP growth for Q4 and 3.88% for the year, reinforcing expectations for a stronger finish for Nigeria economy. CBN holds benchmark rate steady in disinflation phase. The Central Bank of Nigeria has kept the monetary policy rate unchanged at 27%, marking the fourth consecutive hold this year as it continues to prioritize stability in the face of moderating but still high inflation. Headline inflation eased to 16.05% in October, supported by slowing food and core prices due to improved supply conditions and tight monetary policy. The committee maintained the liquidity ratio at 30% and left cash reserve ratios unchanged, though it adjusted the asymmetric corridor to 50 to 450 basic points. The MPC said the decision reflects caution, noting that previous tightening measures are still working their way through the economy, with external reserves rising at $46.7 billion in mid-November, providing 10.3 months of import cover and exchange rate volatility, easing the bank opted to avoid disrupting the ongoing disinflation trend. The CBN governor emphasized that monetary stability remains the foundation of attracting investment and sustaining long-term growth. AMCON repays 3.6 trillion naira, intensifies global asset recovery drive. The Asset Management Corporation of Nigeria says it has repaid 3.6 trillion naira to the Central Bank of Nigeria since 2010, despite spending 1.7 trillion naira to acquire toxic bank assets and still owing about 3 trillion naira. Managing Director Gbenga Alade disclosed this in Lagos, adding that the corporation is currently engaged in over 3,000 court cases and will begin workforce right-sizing next year. He stressed that AMCON stabilized the financial system by removing distressed assets from banks and restoring depositor confidence. Since Alade assumed office, AMCON has recorded 156.25 billion naira in total revenue and 29.4 billion naira in operating expenses. For 2025, it projects 215.15 billion naira in revenue and 29.6 billion naira in expenses, with an expected operating ratio of 13.5%. He credited federal authorities, the judiciary, the CBN, law enforcement agencies, and the National Assembly for supporting AMCON's intensified recovery efforts. Temitope Oluwafemi reporting for Beetv News.
And then to entertainment news. Nigerian Grammy Award winner Burna Boy has pledged to cover the funeral expenses of 4 children killed in the mass shooting at a birthday party in Stockton, California. The singer made a commitment after hearing the incident discussed on the Breakfast Club radio show and subsequently reached out to music executive Wack 100 and Hollywood Unlocked Jason Lee to facilitate support for the affected families. He was particularly moved by the death of 14-year-old student athlete Amari Peterson, who maintained a 3.8 GPA before his life was cut short. Also, Miley Cyrus confirmed engagement to musician Max Marando. The report.
The shooting occurred on Saturday, November 29, inside a crowded banquet hall where between 150 people had gathered for a children's birthday celebration. 4 young people were killed and 11 others injured. Confirmed victims include 8-year-old Maya Lupian and 21-year-old Susano Archuleta. Authorities believe the attack may have been targeted and have announced a $250,000 reward for information leading to an arrest. Bernard Boy's philanthropic gesture comes at a challenging time for the singer, who has faced criticism following the cancellation of his Colorado concert. Several other shows have also reportedly been cancelled due to low ticket sales, prompting public discussions about his current career trajectory. In another development, actress Annie Macaulay has reverted her Instagram name to Annie Idibia, drawing widespread attention amid ongoing drama involving her ex-husband Innocent Subaba Idibia and his current wife Natasha. Fans quickly circulated screenshots of the update, and although Annie has not commented, the timing has fueled speculation. Some observers believe she simply returned to a familiar public identity, while others view the change as connected to recent tensions. Public interest intensified after a video surfaced showing Subaba being questioned before being led away in handcuffs, sparking concern across social media. Shortly afterward, during an Instagram live session hosted by Daddy Freeze, heated shouting was heard between Subaba and Natasha before the stream ended abruptly. The final audible moments captured Subaba asking, "What is your problem?" before Natasha removed the phone. Annie's decision to restore her married name has drawn mixed reactions online, with opinions divided over whether the move was symbolic, personal, or indirectly tied to the unfolding situation. The development has further fueled speculation surrounding the state of relationships within the Idibia family. Miley Cyrus has confirmed her engagement to musician Max Morando, her partner of 4 years. The singer appeared at the premiere of Avatar: Fire and Ash in Los Angeles wearing a gold and diamond ring, prompting widespread speculation that she later confirmed during an appearance on Good Morning America. She revealed that Morando proposed during a recent trip to Asia. Cyrus previously married Australian actor Liam Hemsworth in 2018 after a decade-long relationship, with the pair announcing their divorce the following year. She later disclosed in a 2023 interview with British Vogue that she and Morando first met after being set up on a blind date. Morando, 27, is the drummer for Los Angeles band Lily, which performed on NBC's Miley New Year's Eve party in 2022. The pop star praised Morando's ring choice during her interview and discussed her current musical trajectory. Her newest song, Dream As One, appears in the latest Avatar installment, and she released her 9th studio album earlier this year. Despite her continued output, Cyrus reiterated she has no plans to tour, citing the difficulty of balancing sobriety and mental health while on the road. And that's it on the entertainment news. Evelyn Isabel reporting for Beetv News.
And lastly, on sports news, Nigeria's international Umar Sadiq has strengthened his chances of returning to the Super Eagles squad after scoring his first Copa del Rey goal in Real Sociedad 2-0 victory over Real FC Redis on Wednesday. The 28-year-old, who has struggled for playing time this season and was previously close to leaving the club, made only his 6th appearance of the campaign as injuries to key attackers opened a rare opportunity for him. His recent performance has suggested a return to form, marking a notable turnaround for a player who has been placed on the transfer list during the summer. Sadiq's resurgence began late last month with an assist in Real Sociedad's 1-1 draw against Elche, followed by his first La Liga start of the season in a 3-2 defeat to Villarreal on November 30th. Days later, he earned a spot in Nigeria's provisional 54-man squad for the 2025 Africa's Cup of Nations in Morocco. His first consideration under coach Eric Chell since January, while competition for a final place remains tough. Sadiq offers a unique attacking profile that could make him a valuable option from the bench, a quality he displayed again in the Copa del Rey fixture. Introduced at halftime after Real Sociedad struggled in the first period, Sadiq helped change the momentum of the match. Michael Cotti opened the scoring 4 minutes after the restart before Sadiq aimed and converted a stoppage time penalty to seal the win. His first goal for the club since March 2024 and his fifth since joining in 2022. Despite the breakthrough, his long-term future at the club remains unclear, with returning forwards expects to limit his playing time and a January move still possible. For now, however, his form is likely to draw close attention from Chelsea as he finalizes his AFCON squad. And that will be all in our global news updates. Thank you for joining us. To stay tuned for more updates. I am Librit Manjoana. Bye for now.